Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The First Issue Club, the weekly comic book podcast that guides you through the entire comic book landscape that can sometimes be a little muddy and murky. This week, we're taking a look at a graphic novel from Sweeney Boo, while we've got a little bit of a delay on printed comics coming out each and every week. With me, as always, are Budget King, Caitlin, and Greg. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello. Did you hear our son, Neural?
I did. Cute little meow.
He's saying that it is time for him to be fed.
I hungry.
Didn't this graphic novel come out like 2 weeks ago?
I think like 20th, 21st, somewhere around there.
Okay, yeah. So they released this during COVID just digitally, and I imagine the print will come in. It's from Boombox. I don't know if we mentioned that.
Yeah, it is from Boombox. I think you can order a print copy online, but hey, man, instant gratification. I'm bored now.
She has been previewing this on Kickstarter since like 2018. So this is a long-awaited graphic novel.
Totally, yeah. I've been following her on Instagram for a long time. And for a while, I just assumed like this is just a cool Instagram artist who does like fan art and stuff. And then I found out she was working on like a legit graphic novel and have been pumped to read this ever since. Before we get into that, one of the things I wanted to cover off on was we've been seeing a lot of really cool charity stuff in support of the comic book community and comic book shops. One of my favorite things was the hashtag Creators for Comics auction that was held on Twitter. All these creators put out what they were going to do, and you could just bid in the replies. I believe Kelly Thompson put up for auction a leather jacket signed by the cast and crew of Captain Marvel.
That's so cool.
Chip Zdarsky was going to like write like a sexy story about you.
If you won.
If you won.
Mm-hmm.
And Leah Williams was going to give you a tour of her Animal Crossing town.
Oh, that's super cool.
I was like, I might bid on that.
If you're in game, does she just give you the code and you go over to her island?
You know what? I don't know. I think she said she was gonna like Zoom or Skype you, but was like also willing to like negotiate what she was gonna do if you weren't into Animal Crossing.
That sounds dangerously like some Only video.
Oh no.
But it's, I mean, I'm not the type that would be into that.
Yeah.
But
a lot of people too were like, I'll do an hour on your podcast if you win this bid.
Oh, we should have done some of that.
And
No. Jason Aaron did that. Did you see the price that went for?
No, I didn't.
Like over $1,000.
Wow.
Like, I don't know who has that kind of money just to throw around to just have Jason Aaron
Successful
come on the
podcast, I guess.
But
I
in
like
any
that.
case, I thought just for something fun before we got into the graphic novel this week, this got me thinking if I could have any of my favorite creators make something for me or do something, what would I have them do?
Well, so my initial one was Erica Henderson, because I love her Squirrel Girl and everything else that she does. She has this like kind of campy and lightheartedness about her drawings, but she has been at every con that we've been to, and like her pricing is like really reasonable. So if it's like my dream one, it would probably be Eric Powell, who did The Goon and Hillbilly and all those watercolors that are just so beautiful and vivid and super bloody. And I would just love to officially own something drawn by Eric Powell.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, that's a good one. I guess I didn't think. I kind of just thinking whose art I like, but like Jeff Lemire doesn't really do
Commissions.
Commissions or much art anymore. He's like doing mostly writing. So if he did one of his like old style like art things, that'd be pretty fun to own.
What if he did like a haiku about you?
I'd be into that. Anything Matt Kint did that was like standalone, that wasn't part of his universe, like if he just did like some fan art and his wife did the watercolors on it, I'd be really into that.
That was what I was. That was along the lines of what I was thinking. Like art that I like especially if you were like do a commission of either one of us or the both of us, or like a family portrait type of thing that we could have that would be original. Would
Oh
be
man.
like the Allreds for sure.
Oh yeah.
Or Matt Kent. And yeah.
We actually own a piece by Trad Moore.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's
nice.
super awesome.
I was also thinking the Sana Takeda would be a cool one, just to see what kind of ornate type of
They did
scene you could have.
Monstrous, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys know who Becky Cloonan is?
Yes. What has she done though?
She did Demo. She did Southern Cross. I think she did Gotham. Gotham
no,
Academy.
she did that book that is tied into Conan the Barbarian and like Red Sonja, right?
Did she do that? That seems right. That seems like right up her alley. Well, what I was gonna say is that I knew about her from like the zine world before I knew about her from the comic book world. She just would do these like insanely like artful, crazy zines that were like vampire love story or werewolf love story, and
Yes to both.
yeah, they were just great. And so I'd love that kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that I like really. When it feels like so exclusive that it's like nobody even cares. Like it's so arcane.
Is this tailored for me?
Right.
I think along that line, I would probably want it's Kate Beaton, I think, but the girl who does Hark a Vagrant to do like a comic strip of us or something like that, like something that no one would even know what it is.
That'd be really funny.
That we could just have.
So like you guys know I'm on Twitter like pretty much all the time. You can really tell that Mike Mignola has cabin fever because he's drawing like the cereal, like Fruit Brute and like the Count Chocula and Ultraman and like the Flintstones. Like he's drawing all these characters from his past in his signature style, and they're super like detailed and really really great. But you can tell he's just hasn't been out of the house in probably a month, and he's just bored out of his mind.
So good. Yeah, I don't know. We probably should, instead of just talking about this, should have bought some of this stuff.
Well,
I didn't even know this was a thing. This is like a new.
Yeah.
I don't have thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
I went down the list, and as it went on, I was like, oh, this is something that I would totally get. And then you'd scroll down and see like it got upbid, it got upbid, it got upbid. It's past what I can afford.
Yeah, seriously, like you're getting priced out of something before you can even blink.
Yeah, it was really cool to see what people were willing to give. Like I know Benjamin Percy just did a signed copy of that C2E2 Wolverine variant that we got.
Oh, that's cool.
And which it's like a signed comic book, and you can get that comic book on eBay for like $40 or $50 or whatever it is. But
120, I think.
120? Really?
Dang.
Yeah.
Oodle ollie.
Ugh. Why didn't I take better care of mine? Son of a bitch.
You were gonna sell it anyways. I didn't.
No, I would never sell it.
Yeah.
But in any case, someone bid like $500 on it.
God damn
And
it.
you're just trying, you're just giving giving money to charity and getting something cool. So
And that's the way to do it.
that was the spirit of this thing, I feel like. And it was cool to see people get like these really bizarre things from creators they love that you would otherwise have like they never would have created. So there's some really weird, unique things in here.
A perfect storm of a cause and time and
Right.
Boredom.
the idea and somebody to spearhead it. It's great.
What do you guys think? Let's get this podcast started.
Let's get started.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, guys. As promised, we're going to be talking about Eat and Love Yourself by Sweeney Boo. Caitlin, do you have a synopsis for us of what this book is about?
I sure do. Eat and Love Yourself has Mindy, who is a 27-year-old woman. She buys a chocolate bar and starts to time travel, experiencing her young life again as a young adult. And what she finds is a shot at a fresh perspective on herself. This book was kind of heavy, but I'm excited to talk about it.
Same. I think just because I've been at home sitting down all day, like kind of bummed and just eating salty snacks and like hating myself and my like growing gut, like this, like I totally needed this. Did you guys find it in a way, I guess, a powerful thing given the situation that I think a lot of people have found themselves in right now?
I was gonna say that I think in some ways this is the one of the better written like love yourself statements. Is like a love letter to you and your body that I've read because it's so real and feels experienced and mature, and it's not just like you're awesome. It's like you are awesome, but you're gonna have to work at making sure that you know you're awesome.
Yeah, it avoided the montage effect, if you will indulge me to say that, because like it's not so much. I've seen a lot of things, and I think a lot of media is targeted toward primarily women in this area of like combating the ideas of imagery and like the self image and body type that you're fed since you're really little. And I think a lot of movies that try to, or a lot of media that tries to give this message, unfortunately does it disservice by kind of skipping over all the work that it takes to get there. And it's like, oh, she did this, and then all of a sudden, everything's coming up for her, and she broke the cycle and she did it, and now she's on her way. And you don't even really get much of a metamorphosis with this
Hmm.
in this book. It is much more minute and more realistic.
One like kind of element that I had for this too is that as a kid who was overweight or like didn't like his body, I felt like I've always had weird food issues and like weird body issues that have just kind of been on me. Like I don't have like an eating disorder that I would know of or body dysmorphia, but like I have these statements that people have said about my body that have happened like 10 years ago that I still think, oh, I do have fat thighs. Especially like as a high schooler, like I would totally make journals about like how much food I ate and like try not to eat as little as possible, and and it felt like really super real to the point that I was like trying to like name. I was like, no, she doesn't have body dysmorphia. She has this version of this eating disorder or whatever. And it's like I'm actually not an expert on it. A lot of people just go through weird food stuff too, and like this person actually has like I mean, Caitlin, you in your psychology like degree and stuff like. You are a therapist as well, a licensed therapist. Like, what's your thought on eating disorder and how this comic book relates to it?
I almost went into that field as a career a while back. And I think it's because of personal experience. I don't think there's a lot of people now that don't have some kind of personal experience, whether it's you or somebody that you love or know. Um, but I think, and I think she is purposely a little bit vague about some of the symptoms or some of the behaviors associated to kind of shy away from trying to pin it down diagnosis wise, which I think is smart because
That
I
makes
think a
sense. That
lot of
makes total
people
sense.
I think a lot of people are going to be looking for ways to connect with this because it can show up and manifest. And so, like for me, like the story she tells with her family isn't my story, but there are elements of it and the way she reacts to it and the things that she goes through and the way she feels about herself, so relatable to so many different people.
Hmm.
And I think that bit of vagueness helps to tell a wider story about it than kind of nailing it down to one diagnosis.
I think that in her eloquent way of situating something in the middle of a diagnosis, I think she also landed on a body type that was perfect for the story because I kept on thinking she's really cute. Like she has like her body I find very attractive, and I don't see why she thinks it's bigger. And I think but that worked. I think that had she been thinner or had she been bigger, the story would not have worked as well.
I thought about that a lot too. And I think that a lot of times you will see women in with the art style that this book has kind of drawn like that, even if they're supposed to be a bigger girl, or like I'm thinking of like Gert in The Runaways. Like she's always drawn a specific way, but she's always cute. It's never it and it, the body type to me is not an undesirable body type either. So it is a perfect fit for this thing that's like it's still not the normal way that women are drawn or that women appear, but it is a body type we've all seen and it's not undesirable to a lot of people. So it's just it kind of does set that interesting like
Yeah.
dynamic there.
To that point too, like Faith is like the kind of the comparison that I could see this being compared to as far as like another character that's like in that same echelon of stuff, I guess. But one thing I love about it is like the main character is not a loser. Like she's getting like the attention of guys. It really does play more like it's in her head and that's the battle she has to have rather than like she actually has very little L's. Like she doesn't have a lot of losses. It feels like a true like depression thing. I think you could have written this comic book and just been like, and she got fired and she can't get any guys to like her. And I guess that like her life is mediocre, but she's also like cool and successful in some ways, I thought.
And she is driving a lot of the things that are complacent and that aren't reaching or aren't like she's the one in charge of that, which is because it's internalized. She may be thinking like this is all I can do or this is what I deserve, but like that's her internalizing it. Like you said, like the problem is more mental for her than it is the circumstances she's going to be dealt because of the person that she is.
Yeah, she wouldn't let herself be happy, and there was a lot of like self-sabotage stuff in here. One of the reasons I loved the flashbacks or like the time traveling motif, I think that mentality of stepping outside of yourself and seeing another person go through something, even though that other person is yourself, it's so much easier to say, gosh, I'm reliving this situation and I can clearly see that it's not this person's fault and they shouldn't be beating themselves up over this. And it's like, that's you. You are that person. Therefore, you shouldn't be beating yourself over this stuff.
I think that, Galen, you should tell me if this is wrong or not, but there is a method in therapy where I think it's called something like a mirror revelation. And the goal of the activity is to see yourself seeing yourself. So like you can try to be the witness or instead of the author. And then be able to like be informed by the situation rather than like so stepping away from it, you know. And I think that like this kind of captured that, and that is essentially the thing that helped her heal or put her on the road to recovery. I think was seeing herself from a separate vantage point.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about like what would you say to a friend who's going through the same stuff, and everybody's answer is always going to be so different than what their internal script is. But it's just obviously we all can't eat a chocolate bar that's going to physically manifest that for us so that we can see ourselves going through something and really physically and tangibly externalize it. So it's a lot harder to do that when you're just sitting with yourself. I think the idea is so strong.
I don't think she's going for this comparison because I think that it's pretty elementary, but I think a lot of people do pop edibles and pop Adderall to like quick fix the thing they don't like about their life, and it feels like magic. I don't know if you guys think that or not. I mean, like I have like friends that like I feel like they just get way too high all the time, and it's because they're not just trying to have fun. Like if you get high that much, you got a problem, and that's fine. Everybody does, but like you're eating the chocolate bar to avoid the actual problem.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's another addiction. Like it may not be an eating addiction or an eating disorder, but that's the thing that they are doing to fill the void, that they are doing to punish themselves in a way, to keep themselves from being happy or to keep them from realizing that.
And that's the way, like, not to bring this, I always bring it about me. Such a white man thing to do. I feel like I get that way with video games. Like I'll get in a path or whatever, and then I'll just be like fucking just going nuts on a video game or like a cell phone game, and like my good friends or wife will be like, hey, what game are you playing now? Or like just try to like pull me out of it by being like, you're obviously avoiding something by like binging this thing that has no, like it begins to be self-sabotage because, at the end of the money or the game that I spent, it's going to be nowhere.
I'll be right back where I started.
Yeah.
I have a hard time with that because that's something that I definitely do to unwind. And I think I end up giving myself a lot of guff about doing something recreationally that I like because I feel like it's not an active thing. But I think that also gets tied into like I should be exercising. I should be but I think it's there's a difference between a coping skill and something that you enjoy and gives back to you than something that takes more than it gives to you and is actually destructive.
I don't have a good filter to be like to know the difference all the time, I think.
Well,
I think that's fair.
You certainly see there's people who have replaced their addiction with what they think is a happier, healthier thing. But there are people who are addicted to working out that ain't fixed themselves. And now, now you're just going to the gym like every single day, and you could be like jacked to perfection. But if you haven't worked on that stuff, then you're just replacing that addiction with something that you can just tell yourself you feel better about for the time being and escape to.
Yeah, you're treating the symptoms. You're not treating the.
Yeah. Just because you have a healthy BMI doesn't mean you have a healthy view about yourself and the world around you.
Yeah.
It was like amazing. There's one part where she's eating donuts and like slamming them, and then her like older self goes into her and is like, or is trying to yell at her and tell her, but she's not listening, that like you're only gonna feel better for 10 or 20 more minutes, like, and then you're gonna feel worse.
I was gonna say too that the piece with her parents and her family, like she's trying to reconnect with them, but also a lot of the things and the negative self-image that she's gotten has come from them, as you're seeing as she's kind of flashing back. That part was really impactful to me because I think I forget that. I mean, I will make derisive comments about myself all the time, just out loud to Greg. And even when I can remember being in that exact same situation in the mall with my mom and my grandma and them saying, oh, we don't have the body, like verbalizing, like not only putting themselves down, but handing that down generationally. And that was huge too. Cause I was just like, it's not that that thing that we think of like, oh, you need to live up to this ideal body type that's in the media, but it is just as insidious to kind of do that to yourself in a way that other people around you can hear and kind of take in negative scripts from that too.
It also makes you think like how shitty it is to like talk about your own body, period. I just don't think people should, unless they're asked to talk about their body or other people's body, they shouldn't do that. Because when people are like, oh, I feel so fat right now, and it's like they're obviously skinny, I'm like, fuck you.
I know. Yeah, I think there's got to be a better way to be more celebratory and not shy away from talking about our bodies to a point where we don't feel like we can.
Yeah, I guess I was saying like it's just hard, to navigate it.
For sure.
Well, isn't that how body dysmorphia works in a nutshell? I mean, you're never happy with your body no matter what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean that's why it's really dangerous to like even though I know you've established like kind of your personal some of your personal things that would influence you feeling that way about someone thin saying that. But like even that person may be dealing with body dysmorphia where they're not saying it to get attention. They're truly disgusted with what they're seeing.
Right.
Because what they're seeing isn't.
I also
truly...
think that like they put like how they are seen in other people's eyes, so that like if they were to get this like, hey, you're looking good, you're looking thinner reaction, it's not the attention, it's that like, oh, that I now see myself as thinner because I've had it reflected back to me, and like you try to like get that again happening. I don't know. That seems like it almost like it's like it goes both ways. Like you're hearing the worst of what people say as well. I don't know. It's a thinker of a book. It's heavy. It's certainly not drawn heavy though. It's drawn in neon purples and pinks and fucking rad ass glasses and cool, just amazing fashion.
The art and coloring was great. Yeah. Ooh, there was some sexy guys in this.
I think Sweeney's done some fashion stuff and some like consulting like that, which
I
seemed
don't know. She likes to draw like fan art with like Sabrina in like high culture clothes, or many other characters through many other books. She likes to draw them in certain fashion motifs, and they're really well done. If you find her on Instagram or Twitter, you will not be disappointed about the art she puts out.
Yeah, she gives a lot of her fan art characters like dope sneakers too, which I
Yeah.
always
Oh,
appreciate.
it's so great. It's so great.
Yeah.
She also grew up in France, so
Oh.
they're like fashionistas, right? That's part of my limited perception about people in France.
Two things to know
Y'all
about
know
France.
fashion,
They know
right?
fashion, and they
I
don't
reckon
shave their
y'all
armpits.
dress pretty well.
yeah. So she got consulted to do the TV show's fashion for Marvel Rising.
Oh,
Like
cool.
she's doing the costume design for
Oh, that'll be cool.
Marvel Rising. Yeah. So she has that background or that thought process as well, which really shows like this is one of the best designed like fashion characters I've ever read.
Yeah, they look really modern and appropriate for like something created in 2020. I know she's been working on it for probably over a year leading up to this, right? But even still, it seems very now.
This was one thing that I always like comment on because I think about like how people draw tattoos and the way that she drew the tattoos on like her friend. I was like, this person knows tattoos. Like it was like subtle, it, like worked. It was like not like gimmicky or whatever. It like didn't like be like this is tattoo girl.
I don't even remember, so it must have been subtle. That
Yeah.
I was just like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
That's a tattoo.
That's
Yep.
a look.
It's a tatty. So,
I will say that I think that this book, maybe the synopsis for me that I read online was a little bit misleading. Would you guys say the
yeah, it
same?
makes you think like she's gonna trip out on mushrooms and like
Yeah.
go crazy.
Or that she's trying to change her past, or
Yes.
I don't.
Yeah. If
That's-
anything, she's learning from it.
Yeah, not changing.
She's
it
not
at
changing
all.
anything.
This is also one of those moments where it's like the arc is not a traditional like cinema arc where it's like rising action, great things happens, they like have full resolution and boom, like, and I love that because in some ways it's like, yep, that's a comic because it wasn't a movie. It didn't need to like
Right.
resolve.
Well, it's real life. Sometimes real life doesn't have those highs and lows as dramatically as movies, and sometimes comic books. I mean, this felt very real. There was a lot of emotion and passion behind this book, and I mean, you can really tell she's very careful and thoughtful about what she put in and wrote, and it meant a lot to her. Obviously, I don't know if she really talks about it much, but I'm assuming it's something that she deals with personally.
I think I read somewhere that was like she has experience with or something. The wording was not like direct, but definitely
Right.
like
Right.
yeah, or thoughts of, or has a lot of concerns with, or something like that.
I don't think this is a book that you could necessarily spoil because it doesn't just have like a magical everything is fixed ending, which no story like this should have that sort of ending.
No.
Yeah.
And then
no.
two, obviously it's like this is all about the journey and has like nothing to do with the resolution, right? It's like constantly like working and looking at looking into yourself and figuring out who you are and being happy with who you are.
This is a very slyly disguised self-help book.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
it's
totally.
and it's primarily for young adults, which is perfect.
Yeah,
The-
I think like even like 20-year-old, like young college.
Right.
That-
YA, post YA.
Yeah, post YA. There we go.
Post-
Post
YA.
YA, yeah. I was every once in a while when I see the publisher Boombox, I always think like, oh, this is for kids, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds.
I think it is meant
This-
to be younger though. Like then
It's certainly meant to be younger, but this book like started out in a bar, like obviously not like a little kid's book, but would probably mean a lot to somebody going through something like this at a younger age to someone my age going through something like this. So I
Yeah.
just think like great spectrum, and it reminds me not to judge a book by its cover, judge a book by its publisher,
ooh.
if I can say that. I was also coming into this conversation, I was like, how do I talk about this too, like being a male reading this thing about eating disorders? Because traditionally, the media and everything around men isn't constantly telling you like
It let you have a dad bod, like dad bod sexy.
yeah,
There's no
like
mom bod.
I can get away with a certain body type and not feel judged for who I am, what I am. It's just like not on your radar as much as a man. So I was a little anxious and tiptoey on. I was like, what do I say about this? But I've really enjoyed our conversation and interpretations of this book, and it makes me appreciate the book itself a lot better. I love that. I think it sounds like that we've all taken something valuable from it, even though someone going through their own like self-help journey,
Right.
regardless of what the problem is, can be very soothing just to like see.
I think
And
it's also like a really good take on the people that watch and are close to people that go through these things, because you see several guys in here. I mean, it's not like she's got 20 guys hitting on her all the time, because that wouldn't be realistic either, but it's just you do see like guys trying to form connections with her, or even her best friend trying to go to maybe more vulnerable places to let her know how valuable she is, and she's just not going to let them do that, and how frustrating and powerless that can be, to be a supportive person to that person that's going through that stuff. And I thought that that was a really important perspective too, because eventually she gets to a point where she's like, yeah, I can recognize I've got to do some things, and we can't be doing this now, but I do want to open that door.
Yeah.
But a lot of people struggle to even get there. So I thought it was a really good look at that too, that those people are going through some stuff too, just trying to love that person.
Yeah. I like Greg saying that it's a disguised self-help book. It seems
Yeah.
like what it is.
And like this book primarily deals with eating disorders, but I think even if you aren't dealing with that kind of disorder, this book has a lot of great points of just like, it's okay to work on yourself. It's okay to keep striving to better yourself, and to reach out to people for help, and to always look within and, realize that you are good enough. You are, this person that has worth, and, people want to be around. It's like that premise can never be, hit hard enough to people. It's just like, people have doubts all the time, and just reach out and talk to people if you're feeling like this.
Yeah.
This is a heavier episode than we usually do, but if you are feeling like any type of way, if you have any problems, the first step is typically the hardest. But reach out to people. They love you, and they want to talk to you, and they want you to feel better. So don't be afraid. Try not to be afraid.
Well, if you haven't been paying attention to the entire episode, I think it's safe to say, in summation, we liked this book and would recommend it.
Yeah,
Correct.
absolutely. Yeah.
So, I think a resounding recommend, and check this book out if you can. You can download it on Comixology and get it right away, or
Directly
find it
from Boom if you wanted to.
on Amazon, or direct from Boom. Yeah. So, check it out. I don't know if anyone else has closing thoughts on that, or we want to leave it there.
I think it's a great closing. I have something that maybe won't make the podcast. Is that okay to do? Did you guys think it's crazy where it's like, okay, one, we don't know how this candy bar got made in any way, and straight up, this candy bar is not only being sold to her, but seemingly
Everybody.
tons of other people that are now like revisiting and we don't even know who else took this candy bar and had this same moment.
We don't know. Like, I want to know about their operation. They're just out in the woods somewhere making all these mystical, life-changing candy bars.
Willy Wonka's out there just trying to help people one chocolate bar at a time.
And it's so
out of
random. Like, if you
retirement.
put that much effort to create a candy bar like that, to just sell it to a Whole Foods and have them distribute it.
It's like leave it out there.
Yeah. Pretty soon, people are going to start talking to one
It
another, and
begins.
then this thing's going to catch fire, and then the people who are making this are going to have to answer some questions.
That is a pure chaos lord.
I want to see the sequel to this book, Sweeney Boo.
I also like the motif of each chapter. You saw the chocolate bar isolated in black with another tile gone,
Yeah,
which was cool
It was
to
a cool way to
structure
do
the
it.
story like that. Yeah.
This was a fun read digitally too. It's like the panels worked really well.
It did.
Yeah,
Very true.
they were in order, also, which helped.
Oh yeah. Hey, correct. I have a correction corner for our next episode.
Oh no.
Well, it was just I said AWA is going direct to publishing. You guys probably didn't even hear me say that when I was like saying like, oh, DC's doing this, so is AWA. It was actually Alterna Press that was doing that, not AWA. But I'm just telling
An
you.
official first issue club redaction. Alterna, not AWA.
Thank you.
This has been another episode of First Issue Club. We are a proud member of the Fountain City Frequency family of podcasts. Our music is provided by Primary Color Music. We are recorded in KCUR Studios. You can find us, rate us, friend, and follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, email, and your favorite listening platforms at First Issue Club, FIRST.